SRM talk and the last of the summer semester 2018. My name is Chaitanya Sube. For those of you who don't know me yet, I am a student of the batch of 2015-17. My stay has gotten stretched a bit. And today we are also celebrating the first anniversary of the SRM talks. For those of you who've been around since last spring or summer, you would know we had our first talk in the month of June 2017, and we've come a long way. And through this year, we've had speakers speaking on a variety of topics, mostly centering around the fields of specializations in SRM. And for those of you who've done the course International Environment Policy, you would have seen that in that course we've had discourses. We basically studied about the different discourses on environment and climate that have taken place around the world since the first discourse in 1972 Stockholm, and never has it been that education or capacity building for sustainable development being talked about at such large forums. And this was one of my questions to the lecturer in one of the lectures as well. So today we have the very good fortune of having the theme, which is education for sustainable development. Before that, I would also like to tell you a few things. We've been supported by a team of 8 members who've been looking into different aspects of organizing the SRM talks. And these are basically speaker acquisition, finances, communication, and logistics. And as part of the logistic finance was one gentleman named Louis Costa. He is a master's student in the program Life Science, Economics, and Policy. And he's been with us for 2 semesters in the team. And coming next semester, he's going abroad for an exchange, which means he's leaving the team. He's been an excellent support to the team, and we wanted to offer him a small note of thank you in the form of a certificate, a small gift. But he's not here with us this evening either because he had other commitments. So I will just request our team member, Priscilla, to receive it on behalf of him. Maybe a round of applause first. And as SRM talks evolved, we also found that there were more aspects in the whole organizing that we needed. For instance, we wanted more visibility, and in order to maybe get access to special funds and donations, we had to be accredited as a formal student body. And this required us to reach out to student councils, other academic associations, and we found out that was another aspect of work that had to be looked at, which I like to call as partnerships and outreach. And so to manage that, we had the latest addition to the team, that's Susanna. Susanna is an SRM 17-19 student, and for also supporting the communications team on on basis, we have Sarah from SRM 1618. She's not here this evening, but I would like to welcome you to the team and hope you have a productive time with us here. And for those of you who've been attending the SRM talks for a while, you may have observed that following the 2 talks, we always have a networking dinner where you get to enjoy some nice, delicious international food and get a chance to also have more personal conversations with the speakers. Raise your hand if you've had these dinners and have enjoyed them. Okay, quite a few of you. Right, so as we have realized, this is an exercise which requires a team effort because the food is being cooked by students on a voluntary basis. And so far we've been doing good, but in the last couple of talks we've had a little challenges. We've been facing little challenges to assimilate as much food as we would have wanted. So this continues to be a voluntary engagement. So if we don't have enough volunteers making food, we would have to reconsider how we can have the networking unit. But I would really encourage until then for more and more students to come forward and bring some food or cook something and bring for these talk or networking dinners so that we can have the engagement going as it is at the moment. Thank you for that. And also, you may notice that at the networking dinner we have a small donation box which is usually supposed to finance our ad hoc expenses, and they also, as SRM talks are evolving, getting more and more in numbers, and such donations are very, very welcome. So I would once again really encourage you to make any nominal donation that you would feel like to at the donation box next to the networking there. Thank you. So with that, once again, I would like to thank you all for being part of the SRM talks over the last 1 year, and I would really encourage you to keep doing this in the coming days. We would be taking a break after this talk for the summer and starting again in October. But when we do, you are very, very welcome to pass on the message of SRM talks to your family, friends, and acquaintances. The initiative is not just open to the students of the program division of Forest Science and Resource Management, but to people everywhere. So yeah, that's all for now. And with that, I would now like to welcome our first speaker for the evening, Mrs. Rajeswari Gorana. Mrs. Rajeswari.
I'd like to start with a small clip. Sorry for the audio, there's no audio in this room, but hopefully it will make. How do I get that? Sorry. Sorry, there was no audio. How many of you have seen the Gods Must Be Crazy? Yes. So this is the introduction. It talks about the complexity that we have built for ourselves. Such a complex world. And you've seen the first part where the person just is going in a car to drop the letter. And then it eventually shows that almost all of us have to be educated for 15 years is what the film says, to actually learn how to live. That's the kind of complexity we have built for ourselves. And now we really are at facing global level challenges, and we have to address that. And how do we do it? And I think that's going to be the point of discussion this evening. Okay, so here we are. I don't know how many of you have realized that we are actually talking about three powerful words in this presentation: education, sustainability, development. they're oceans in themselves. I mean, if you talk about education, you can spend the entire evening. Similarly with sustainability and also development. And here now this evening we are going to see how all of these three come together and what they mean for us. I'll take you through each of the words initially to see, and then how they come together we'll do at the later part. Education is treated as a basic right, and that was what it was said in the Declaration of Human Rights in 1948. But why do you think education is a basic right? It's fine to say that you need to be free, you need to have food, you need to have a housing. All this is fine, but education as a human right, anyone willing to tell why education should be a human right? What is the justification for that? Please.
Yeah, I think looking at it as a medium for understanding the world around us, that then qualifies as a right to understand what's happening around us.
Absolutely. So actually you need education to understand the world around you. You know that?
Maybe it gives equal access of opportunities.
Absolutely. It gives opportunities, yes, to make better decisions. Better
Better
decisions? Absolutely.
I think actually education is the majority of problems within a society.
Yes. So it also gives you the problem solving abilities.
So passing the message to the next generation.
Well, the wisdom has been passed. Human race is not young. We are pretty old. But yeah, probably to run machines or to do governance or to solve problems like climate change. Okay. Essentially, as someone has said, it's about freedom. It bestows us the freedom. What freedom? To make choices. And how do we make choice? When we have knowledge. Do you think if we do not have knowledge, can we make choices? I'm not sure. So actually it is linked to freedom because it allows us to make choices, and making choices is possible when you have knowledge. And so education is treated as a fundamental right. Okay, before we go into education, let's look at something as basic as literacy. Your ability to read letters, to do some arithmetic. How does it? Have you ever wondered, or have you ever seen someone, who is illiterate and you always wish they learned numbers, they knew how to read texts? Did you feel that in your countries if you're coming from whichever place that you come from? So clearly you see that the skills of literacy are really required to realize freedoms, to be able to operate in this world, isn't it? And clearly there are many studies which link literacy to development. Development is what we'll see. And similarly, there are many more studies, many more I would say, which are clearly saying that if you're illiterate, then probably the chances of being poor, is there or is high. Illiteracy, poverty, they seem to have a strong link. So when something as basic as literacy is so important for realizing freedoms, I would say that education is a bigger agenda. Through the years, we have established many links, with regards to education. They're all positive, and that's the reason we are sitting here in this university and really talking about education. Education is quite aspirational. It allows us to dream, to see a better life for many of us. And yeah, it also, brings gains from one generation to the other generation. So it's always aspirational in the sense that I'll be better off than my previous generation, than my parents' generation. It has this larger role. It's in all of our minds. When we sit here and talk, we're doing it out of an aspiration. Then there are the very usual ones, It contributes to human capital. Then there is this thing of nation building. Do you remember your school days? The school textbooks? You learn great things about your country. You learn about its culture, its geography, its practices, its administration, its strengths, and then you develop a sense of identity with your nation. And education has always been used across all countries for building this identity with the nation. So whenever you want to, there are big arguments of whether such an identity has to be built or not, but it has been used as an instrument for building national identities. And then finally, it's also used for affirmative action, positive action. The world is an equal place. You all know that. Whether it is women, whether it is the poor, whether it is socially a different class, and it's used for affirmation. So education is offered, given to various means so that you will build equality in the society. So there are the positive links of education are very strong. Okay. For us, what matters is, it's part of the change mechanism of the society. And it's quite iterative. Learning 20 years ago, 30 years ago, one generation ago was different than what it is today. It's always in a dynamic mode, but it is essential part of social change. And a very interesting thing, as you can see, is to change the society, we need to change the way we learn and educate. And the converse, in order to change the way we learn and educate, we need to change the society. Each feeds into the other, and it's a non-stop, continuous engagement. The society informs what to learn, how to learn, and what you learn and how you learn informs change. So for us, as probably looking into education for sustainable development, this forms the foundational thinking of education. Interestingly, the importance of education was recognized in two spheres, as we have seen: human development, and as we will see in the next slides, in sustainable development. Now I'll talk a bit about this entire game called development. Okay, but for that we need a few facts to be borne in mind, some social historical facts. The World War came to an end in the 1945. Yeah. Then there was the United Nations, which was established in the same year in October. Why? With the intention of fostering international cooperation and also peace. We had two big wars, and the countries were really divided. Most of the countries were in a state of flux. And add to this, we must also not forget that there was a strong element of colonialism, which was also there in the countries. Many countries were still under colonialism. So we had all of this, and then slowly, as the 1960s happened, most of the countries were being freed from the colonial rule, which means they were really newborn countries, so to say, or those countries that were taking up of governing themselves on their own hands. Then we come to the 70s. I'm actually fast forwarding because of the time. When we come to the 70s, there were economies, doing mostly well, let us say the Western countries, but there was an economic crisis in the 70s, which is very, very clear in the minds of, probably a generation before us, very clear. It was due to production, it was due to labor, it was due to competition, because many more countries were coming onto the global arena of development. And there was a lot of environmental degradation. So this forms the background for development. And then, if I now look at what development means for me, I can see three things. One is, it is about rebuilding nations. They were either in the grip of colonial rulers, or they were coming into modernity, and they had to rebuild nations. And there were always some problems. There was poverty, population, pollution, all that already around. Then, there's also this thought that development means, that economic growth is development. If you're doing well, then it means development. Why economic growth? Because it was considered to be the savior for everything. Economic growth, there's probably jobs, there's money, there's income, and if you have income, then probably it's the solution to most of the problems, at least the social ones. That was the thinking. So it got a very high kind of, which is now as well. Most of your countries, you will be proud when you read the GDP figures, when you read the growth rates, you feel really proud that you did a good job. So still we are hung on the economic model of development. Then there is the catching up effort. By then many countries had developed, and for the developing countries there was a model existing. The West was the model for those of us who come from the East. So there was the US and the European countries, not all of them, but many of them. So you always aspired for that development. You wanted good roads, good jobs, a good quality of life. That was the aspiration, and always you were trying to better your roads or better your jobs, or do things which the West was already doing. So development I see as something like this. Do you agree? Do you want to add anything else to this? Anyone? Okay. But the word development itself talks about a little inequality. That there's something called development and all of us has to develop. That's the notion. And why do we have to develop? How do we have to develop? These are big questions which I think still we do not have answers to this. Then I'll take you to sustainability, and I'll spend some time here. Unlike the others, sustainability was born out of social movements, out of concerns that emerged from small acts, not really big acts. There are many of them. I'll not put all of them on the slides. Probably we can talk during the dinner. But I'll take you to three of them. One was the book that was brought by Rachel Carson. She was from the US, and she was really concerned about the impacts of pesticides. She realized that it was impacting the life, the bird life particularly, and then she wrote a book about it. And it created a lot of furor in the people, and US was forced to repeal its pesticides law. And then the chemical that she was talking about, DDT. How many of you have heard about the word DDT? It was extensively used during World War II. It's one of the outputs of, I would say, World War II, when there was an extended R&D done on so many chemicals and products. This was one such product, and it caused a lot of havoc. But interestingly, one book could create that kind of what would you call response. The government had to really repeal the pesticides. Then in '68 came this book called The Population Bomb. Paul Ehrlich was really, it was a little alarmist at that time. Now you, of course, wouldn't believe in such a thing. But he was really concerned. If you're going to grow this fast, who is going to feed them? Does the earth have the capacity to feed the people? And he thought that there would be a collapse. Of course, we made the world very elastic. We were able to produce more than what was possible about 2 or 3 centuries ago. But that really, drew the attention and the pressures of population. Then I'll take you to a blueprint for survival, which was brought out by the Ecologist magazine, which is a UK-based magazine, and it clearly said that if we have to survive, we need to look at certain things, and then it gave out the blueprint. Actually, the 60s, was a really fertile time when a lot of attention on environmental development came about, of how we were what we have given to the environment, how we were doing certain things, and what is it going to bring back to us. And then I take you to the Environment and Sustainable Development Summits that happened. So you see the entire 60s, there were many things that happened, and there was a momentum created. In 1968, United Nations decided that we actually need to lead. We meaning all the countries. Clearly said that we need to come together and discuss about the impacts of human actions on nature and how it's going to impact. And then Sweden came forward and said that it would like to host the conference. And it's called the United Nations Conference on Human Environment. It's a watershed movement. It was a watershed movement.
The National Sustainability Strategy, and they're just on the way to integrate the SDGs. And Mongolia has done it already, and they defined goals, SDGs for Mongolia, Mongolian development goals, MDGs and all. And they say, okay, in 5 years, in 7 years, and they really interested to see that they really break it down. And on the other hand, you should even work on an individual level. What does the SDGs mean for the individual decision on lifestyle, on consumption, on mobility? So that is the question, how to link the SDGs to the really practical situation of everyday life of people. And that could be part of education to help students to go this way. And I will later on describe what does it mean for school. So if you look at other elements, are the competencies. Then I describe the German set of competencies. And we say, okay, we have 3 elements. One is recognition. Recognition of sustainable development goals. That means gather information on risk and questions of globalization and develop and process them automatically. That should be done by students. And you can see the other ones. Subject, globalization and development process, qualified analysis, applying the guide principle of sustainable development. And the other one is evaluation. Let me just give one example. Look at a variety of methods of evaluating development aid measures, taking diverse interests and frameworks into account, and make individual evaluation. That means that students should think really, for example, you can discuss fair trade as a topic. What does it mean, fair trade as an instrument of a sustainable development? What is the impact on my private consumption? What is the impact on the producer in the country? What's about, that's a big discussion we are raising just in Germany, the freezes. Normally the standards of fair trade are set by the European countries. And we define what is fair trade. And I'm in this very discussion with the people from the companies who mainly influence this in Germany. And they have no idea that the development in India and Mongolia and other countries is totally different. But they set the standard. They must, the Indian producers must apply for a German certificate, which costs a lot of money, but makes no sense for them. So it is another colonial situation. So we have really to discuss even in this, it looks sustainable to be fair trade, to call for fair trade. But you really have to see from both perspectives. That might, for me, is the example of how to deal with perspective even on this, on the surface looking sustainable. And another element of competencies, Rajeswari mentioned already, is to be able to act. And in Germany we have a special regulation when it comes to the number 11. And as a result of our history from 1933 to 1945, in Germany there is a so-called Beutelsbacher consensus. Rajeswari is a very small city near Stuttgart. There in 1900, I think it was 58 or so, I don't know exactly, the Ministry of Education of the states met and decided on political education. They say, okay, the school is not allowed to make indoctrination. But the school has to deal if a problem is diverse discussed in a society. The school has to present it in a diverse way. So that is our dealing, and that means, looking to the last, is pupil, as a result of their autonomous decisions, are able and willing to follow sustainable development objectives in their private lives, at school and at work, and can work towards the implementation of the social and political level. That does not mean we must stress them into a special direction, but we must offer them different perspectives, different possibilities to act. And then we have to ask them, please decide, make a decision. We have all information, but you must make a decision, and you must describe the decision to me. That is part of education, and that is part of what education can do. But education cannot stress the student, for example, to do waste management, waste separating. Okay, every German is trained in it. We are world champions in waste separating, but what's happening afterwards is another question. But we are very good at it. So, and I will just give you an example. In Germany, the schools, and it's even in Mongolia, most of the schools in the world are going to the direction of more independence. There is not 20 years ago, we have had curricula which defines every lesson in every subject and every day. So the idea was, in lesson number 27 in chemistry, in grade 8, all students are doing the same. It is nonsense. It never happened. So now 50% of the curriculum is set, but there are no topics set. And I'll give you an example how the curriculum looks now, a modern curriculum, and how it integrates. No worry. Okay. Sorry, it's in Germany, but I will just show it and then I will translate it. That is, you see on the other hand, on the basics, you see the competencies. That was the slides before. That are the competencies students should afford and should able to develop into their, until their theory of scarcity. And on the other hand, you have, we call it content concepts. And if you translate them, we have only 5 of them. The first one is life is change. That is a basic concept. The second one is energy is needed for every process. That means without energy you can do nothing. The next one is things being and beings are linked together. The next one is nothing is lost on the planet. That's recycling, that's cradle to cradle, that's thinking in circles. And the last one is people create their environment. Those are the 5 basic concepts for primary education in Germany. And no other topic is mentioned. And the student and the teacher now, as the schools have to develop their own curriculum framework and their own arrangement to reach this, to follow these basic concepts. And what are those elements of learning arrangement? How, if you go back, how can I arrange to really work with the things I need to do some arrangement in educational process? Education is not people sitting in this style here in a classroom and I'm teaching what you should be thinking in the future. It is more a co-constructive process between the educator and the educated people. So I mean, it should be offer possibilities of different perspectives. I have already mentioned, should base on the concrete living situation of the students. It makes no sense to talk with primary students about water problems in India. They have no understanding about it. Of course, they can see, okay, it's very bad for the Indian people, but they cannot make decisions for their own situations. So the water situation is a very local problem. Of course, in the international context, it's another thing. Then should base on experiences of students. Should be linked to the local community. It's for me very important. And must offer real participation of the students. He must be an active part of the whole process. Must offer possibilities for students' action. And I think it's very important that the school and educational authorities really try to link to other organizations, to other parts of civil society. And then we developed, and it's part of this curriculum, a special chapter on it, because I say if a school really would like to link all these elements, what they do in the subjects, what they do in the overall idea of educational concept of the school, it makes sense to link this. That means whole school approach, or you can even use it for university, whole institutional approach. That means linking different elements to a holistic concept. Let me give just an example. When I come into the university, there was a coffee machine. And you can buy coffee, and you are studying for sustainable resource management, and you got one-way cups. This should be part of the discussion in the student. And I know that some universities are already starting on having nice cups which you can use more than one time. So that's an example. Or using some elements in education. So the universities, the school, should be a place where the student can experience sustainable situations, sustainable lifestyle, sustainable practice linked to their everyday life. That should be part of education. That doesn't mean to have a whole institutional approach. And of course, all education, or even education at university, the main element is teaching and learning in lesson programs, project or in seminars. And to have cross-curricular project. But putting around of these elements, you can do a lot of other activities like school management, leadership training. The principal must be trained in sustainability questions. Supply structure and use of resources at school. Sustainable resource management can be learned at school, can be learned at the university by doing it. How much paper we use, what is the supply organized for the school, and the school can use it as learning topics to work on their own school. And the interesting thing for a school is a semi-closed room. That means the students can make mistakes by decisions on sustainability measures. And it has no effort on other elements. They can just make mistakes, learn from the mistakes, and make other decisions. So that's the interesting thing. Education should be organized. And I think you can even do it at the university. Another element is task and cooperation with different partners at school. The internal structure of a school, of an organization. For example, maybe you are not linked to the maintenance staff of the university, to the cleaning staff. And there should be some elements of working together, and how, if you really want a holistic development, you must be, last week I did a training in Mongolia for the non-educational staff of a school. That was the ladies who cleaned it, who was responsible for the food, responsible for the material and so on, and for the secretariat, and we made a training on them on the concept of school approach. That was interesting to see their ideas. and external contracts, cooperation of school, or you can speak of course the university as well. And regional partnerships and cooperation with enterprises, corporates, with civil society, with NGOs, with educational centers, with environment centers, which activities on green mobility and so on. Student enterprise is a very interesting thing that schools started to run a students' enterprise. For example, one school I know, they organized a fair trade shop at their school. Or they organized a shop where the student can buy renewable products for education, like paper, like pencils, like whatever they use. So they make their own enterprise and calculate and do it in a sustainable economic way. That's the idea to do it. And if you look on the topics, there are, I think, different doorways to ESD. That means a school can start from one doorway. Not doing, this concept should not be misunderstood as we put it over the schools and they have to do. It is just they can step in by doing food and consumption. One school I visited 2 weeks ago in Mongolia, they have trained them in the concept and then they worked hardly on it. And they decided to work on food and consumption. And they have developed a whole concept of food and consumption and who could be their partner from outside health authorities. They make research on the local supermarket, which food is offered in the local supermarket, what's about regional food, what's about whatever you think. And it was done by the students. And you can do it by agriculture, local development, water and soil, and topics you can choose different ones. And in general, as I told already, you have to use the school as a role model for sustainable lifestyle and practice. This was a future workshop I did with students 20 years ago. I have to look for some of them. And the interesting is, at that moment we brought them together for 1 week, and we asked them vision about their visions of schools, vision of education in 2030. And it was interesting, some of the elements are really there at the moment. So it's on digitalization and so on. So they really were working on it. It was interesting to work with them. And then I decided to put on one slide, like a mind map, what could be possible elements. This, again, is not a follow-up for the schools, a follow-must for the schools. This is just an element how to integrate such activities. And then I do last year the next step. It was developed before the SDGs. And then my question was, as Mongolia, for example, has decided that the schools in Mongolia should work with the SDGs. It is compulsory for all of them. So I decided to look how the SDG fit in. And you can see nearly all of them we can do. That's an interesting development. You can really link education to the SDGs. And now they work on it. I give you one example. School building and involvement in design and equipment, of course, is sustainable consumption. Or if you look to sustainable construction of new buildings under renovations, it's about climate change. Frankfurt, my home city, they have really built the first, they call it passive house schools. That means this school produces more energy than it uses for the everyday life. They put energy and store it for winter time and summer. So this is and there are other standards for zero emission schools. So that could be an example for learning arrangement. Students can learn about their own school and the building on how to do it. And that was my contribution.
With that, we will now dive into the session. And I would just request someone to point out to me where the attendance registration sheet is. If it's on someone's desk. And I'll request Ms. Chetty once again circulate it from the back of the room to the front. If anyone's yet to sign on it, please do so. And so if you have a question, you may please raise your hand and make yourself seen by me. And then, so we'll start with Carl.
Ma'am, I have one question regarding the funding mechanism for ESD in overall the whole scenario. Because when you're talking about that, we have to reach out to the communities and people, the transaction cost. It requires a lot of funding for holding such workshops, for training people and everything. So, is there a good space where this funding is available?
Yeah, I'll answer and I'll also ask Reiner to join. One, education for sustainable development need not be seen as only a formal mode of education. It should be seen as non-formal and informal as well. So that is the first point. And the second point, more and more it's being recognized that training, skill development or capacity development is the means for achieving change. So any project that you take has a strong component of these aspects. Now if you say is there funding? Yes, everything probably, as Reiner has said, there are 17 goals and 169 targets, and if you're working, let us say, on alleviating poverty, you're looking at skill building for a community. Now skill building, if you say that it is equivalent to education or touches upon education for sustainable development, it classifies as that everything now has an educational component, a learning component in it. So that way, if all change work is looking at education. But if you look at exclusively, there are only some who are already working to fund schools, colleges, universities for taking up education. And essentially, I would say it is UN bodies, and then in certain countries, the corporates which are doing. For instance, the South Asia experience has been that for Nepal, Bangladesh, Maldives, it's actually money coming from UN organizations and businesses. That is actually putting money in education for sustainable development practices. So that's what I have to say.
Yeah, I'm looking from the German perspective. It is, one hand is the international question. Germany funds a network of India, Mexico, Germany, and South Africa. The idea is to bring educational experts, ESD experts together and to work on a common idea of what is competencies, what is whole school, what is model of whole school, was developed in the set of the country. This is funded by Germany. And for example, I work in Mongolia, and this is funded by the Swiss government. And looking to the German situation, if you do it like this curriculum, by the way, if you can have 4 of them, and I don't like to bring them back because they're heavy. Maybe give it around. And if you do it as a part of the official education system, the funding is already there. The teachers are trained or will be trained, and it's funded. And on the other hand, there are a lot of corporates fund activities on the informal sector. I work together near Frankfurt, in that region, between Frankfurt and Stuttgart. It is maybe as a SAP, as a big software company. They are just building a climate information center, climate learning center, and they invest 25 million. It will be 2 weeks ago. It will have the building is already there, Richtfest. The construction, the body is there, and now it goes to the inside. And they really engage a lot of educational experts. Thomas, for example, worked for them. I work for them. And they really try to bring education to everyone. And they call it is a climate foundation for citizens. That's one project. And a lot of enterprises are financing, and even the states in Germany financed ESD training centers. Bavaria, they have around about 28 or so, which are got a basic funding from the government. And in my state we have 38 at the moment, and all of them, we have visited one of them, all of them get funding. So there is a lot of money on the way, but of course it is, at the end for me, is a question of the society. If the society really wants to implement sustainability in the society, it should stick on ESD. And then it will be, the money will be there. It should not be seen as an add-on. We should really struggle to see it as part of the system.
Integrated
into the system.
And just one additional thing. Yes. Was about, like in my general observation, I've seen that in the name of education, in that umbrella, there are many interventions in which actually sometimes go waste particularly because there is not so much of curriculum or modules that people know. So it's something like in schools, a painting competition. So in the name of environment, they have a painting competition, but that's something which a child has like 4 or 5 times a day, and he's again and again doing that. So what do you think about such wastage thing in the ESD, especially when we are trying to reach out students and the young youths in the country?
Yeah, I would say that sometimes these activities become meaningless. They're tokenism. You're asking children to draw about sustainability or visionary thinking or something. Yes, they do have some utilitarian value that a child is engaging with the topic, but it stops there. It doesn't take them through the whole spectrum of knowledge, attitudes, skills, and action, and really, questioning certain basic things that you need to question. So the utilitarianism is there. It's not zero, but we really need to move on. And if you look at education in the world, it's a system. So you don't use the word education just like that. You use education system. So the system has many components, and these components have to act together. They're like all in tandem. You have to move, and then you can bring about change. It means you have to look at teacher education, curriculum, examination. Probably professions. Lots of things have to come together, then they make a difference. Now, having said that, probably, the way to do is to actually design things, co-design with the schools or, educational products or activities. Then that makes a sense. What we do is we go from outside, we want 1 hour, we give them drawing sheets, they draw, and then we come back. Instead of that, maybe we should say we go to a school, have a half a day, or probably half a day is more, 1 to 2 hours of interaction, and then come up with something, and then do a follow-up. Now, all this requires time, money, effort, and this has to go into the system. Otherwise, then probably we will still continue to do drawing competitions.
It is, at the end, it is a transformation of the education system. If society really wants to have a sustainable development, they must transform institutions.
The system has to be
changed. And that's a big discussion we have now. And the SDG, for the first time, mentioned education for sustainable development as an overall goal. It's 4.7. 4.7 exactly said the education system must guarantee that the students, future students, have an understanding of the question, of the system, of the general concept of sustainability, of sustainable lifestyle, on democracy, that's another, on non-violence, gender, it's everything mentioned there. So and this is signed by 192 governments. In Germany, it's signed by Mrs. Merkel and, interesting, the president, the prime minister of my state. At that time, he was head of the ministry of the state ministry, and he signed in New York. So it is an official document, and we can really, as a society, can ask the governments what you are doing for it. And now I was part of the government, but now I'm outside, and I'm really questioning them.
I also have two questions. First is to Reiner, sir. So you mentioned different level of perspectives, and what should be the strategy of education when you have different conflicting perspectives, like the individual perspective could be something different and something different for the community. So how do we educate for that?
You should bring the conflicts into the school. You should really invite
a much less aggregate environmental footprint than a rich family, for example, in Nairobi, a rich family of 4. So my question is really on, it sort of puts blame to the poor, and so as we elevate poverty, we are also aspiring for development in the West as we know it. I think it would be important to also emphasize the cost of development in the West to our kids in the East, so that they can, because you will tell me poverty will make me cut the tree, but you won't tell me when I'm rich and I buy a fancy furniture, you just remove the moral obligation from me because I don't care where this hardwood is coming from.
Agree. So ESD itself is problematic, or sustainability itself is problematic, because it has both the sides. My belief is a certain level of consumption is very much essential. You just cannot do away with it. You need a building, you need electricity, you need mobility, you need housing, everything is required, but to a certain level. And from there you need to look at how do you achieve efficiency, how do you cut down overconsumption. I think with environment education and education for sustainable development, we need to really take off the guilt and bring in the responsibility. Till now it has always worked on the West, or the West talking about the East as saying that, or the poor countries are saying that they have too much population, they're cutting down trees, and the poor people saying that the rich are having a good time, they have cars and they have they've enjoyed development. So I think the blame game has to now kind of go out of the game. The game now is to look at how do we achieve a common minimum for everyone, but also look at efficiencies and change in attitudes and entitlements. Many times the way we live our lifestyle comes from the fact that we feel we are entitled. So those entitlements also need to go. So Reiner says, when he said that SDGs is for everyone, it's right. Even in Germany, you need to look at poverty. There are pockets, there are blind spots, which probably you never discover, but you need to do those. So for everything, it's sustainable consumption, production, climate change, energy, everything, all of us should do it together. And as certainly, I think we have come a long way. Now the blame game actually is the other side. Nobody, that happened because of the climate change discussions. The blame is no more on the poor, because actually the footprint is still very low. Now the blame has shifted to the rich countries for historically emitting. They say that you've already developed 50 years ago, you've been using cars for 50 years, so you're the guys. So I think there is a swing between these two forms of contestations. Ideally, ESD in a child or in a learner like you should be able to address what actually matters on the ground for a person in Germany and for a person in Kenya.
Yeah, let me give one example. There is one idea. Have you some short? I can just skip.
Yes.
There is one possibility. You have to make a graph. This graph is the carbon footprint, CO2. Yeah? And on the basic, you will have, on this graph, you have the Human Development Index. You know it? HDI. That means basic consumption, basic health, basic education. Education is part of it. And then if you go, we have this at the end, and then you can say you have this square. That's the thing you have to. That means it is a HDE of 1, and it has a carbon footprint of 1.2 hectare. So, and if you look to countries, maybe Kenya maybe will be here. Has a very low carbon footprint, but there's a need to develop to come to this direction. And if you come, for example, if there is one example, India was here, and then you can see, you will find in the net, you will find a graphic, and then you can see India moves from here to here. Adding to the Human Development Index and not adding to the CO2 emissions. And that's an interesting development we really should stick on. And if you look, for example, there is one other country, it is here, it was Emirates. United Arab Emirates, they go up in this direction. Now they are here. That means they have only a very small positive development, but have done a big thing. And if you look to some in the other element of the industrial country, if you look to Germany was here at the beginning, and now Germany is a little bit here. So there's still work in it, and I think we should really discuss such problems. You will find it in the net if you type in HDE and carbon footprint, you will get animated graphics where you can see the development of the last 10 years. I have to integrate it into the next presentation. Maybe that's an answer on the question.
You said in your presentation that education should encourage pupils for sustainable lifestyle and explain what actions can lead to sustainability and like climate change mitigation or whatever. But from like outside of Western world, it seems that such attitude actually creates a lot of stereotypes about sustainable lifestyle. So, like for example, there are such like famous thing that if you refuse meat in your food, you will decrease your carbon footprint. But actually, there are some scientific research that shows that maybe it's actually the other way around. So how, for example, school teachers could explain what is sustainable, what not, if actually science does not understand it really on a high level today?
That's a question of the skepticism. We have made a talk on the World Climate Conference in November last year in Bonn about this question. If you look to real research on climate change, for example, 98% of the researchers agree to the idea of climate change and to the elements which are already on the way. And only 2% of them are not on it. And if you look a little bit more detail to this 2%, they are not researchers on real, they do not really research, but they collect and discuss and reflect on the research of others. And then they combine things which should not be combined. If you look, for example, to the food question, the meat question, of course, if you change meat to high processed vegan food in Germany, if you go to a shop and buy a vegan schnitzel or a vegan bratwurst, it's terrible to have a vegan sausage. That means it is a question of how to do it. But if you stick to regional food, if you stick to seasonal vegetables, you will of course reduce your footprint. So it is just a question of how it is organized, and at the end is a question, what is the background of the study? And let me tell at the end, and who is paying for it. And let me add one element, just, I think one core element for future transformation is really to think about advertisement. These big international companies, they are selling lifestyles. Coca-Cola is not only selling Coca-Cola in all countries, but they are selling a special lifestyle. And that influences the development of the country. So it is not the Western government, it's not the Western people who stress this, but if you look to these international corporates, they really stick on changing lifestyles. And that is the question education must put it on the table and make the students reflect on it. Otherwise we will be lost.
Yeah, I think like all types of education, even ESD is highly political, for one. And the second thing is, like education elsewhere or over the years also creates stereotypes, because there is certainly a limitedness to how you build or construct things or meaning, shared meaning for the learners and the process. I think essentially, you need to invest in looking at the biases, deconstructing the myths, and then be able to move the learner towards action. So that meat eating is bad is certainly a stereotype, and it needs to be examined. And just that was the topic when we sat outside, and we were discussing whether, if you say no to meat in Ulaanbaatar, in Mongolia, where there are no vegetables, then it's ridiculous. You don't import vegetables from a far-off country and then say that, okay, we are sustainable. That doesn't. So you will have to examine everything, and I think a part of this entire process of ESD is deconstructing the myth and the bias. All biases should be deconstructed, and that is what the teacher should.
But how teacher? My question is how teacher without actual I don't know scientific background in climatology or something like that, but in background in pedagogical experience or whatever, how they can deplete
Absolutely.
myths from the real knowledge.
So one thing you've established by your comment itself, that we need more ESD. And the second thing is we need ESD for everyone, not just children. We need it for teachers, for textbooks, and for curriculum developers and everyone. So the demand for ESD is really high, and teachers need to be trained. Because if we prepare teachers in the traditional way and we want them to tackle newer problems, then that's wrong. And it will not bear fruit.
So we'll take two last questions, and the rest of the discussion can continue over the networking day.
Yeah, it kind of just ties into what we were just talking about, but I went through the formal teacher training, and I still felt like there was not really that change. It's kind of still the add-on. You can use that one class and take 2 days, and then no one really addresses it in the actual classroom. And I find that there's such a hypocrisy in the way that school, such a formal setting where everything's still organized like it was hundreds of years ago, and I find the change is so slow. So are you seeing that the change is actually going somewhere? I find that sometimes sitting in a classroom with 30 kids, and there's no motivation to change from their parents' perspective, from the teachers that don't get enough training, and then just seeing how is that going to speed up, do you think, or is that something you're seeing?
Right, big questions. These are the kind of dilemmas that you end up in, because you really need change in the system, at the classroom level, at the actor level. Unless there is change, you always end up with this dilemma that the schools are continuing to act as if they were 20 years ago, as if there was no climate change or no SDGs or no Paris Agreement. And this is a gap. It's a gap, certainly for me.
It is, of course, it's a challenge for the school. And we are thinking, when we publish this curriculum, we are thinking about 10 years. Which it will take to change the system. But on the other hand, I was responsible for nearly 2,500 schools. And we do a lot of support for the schools. And we appreciate what they are doing. That's another question. Really to appreciate. And then my opinion is, if you look to German schools, you will find all of them will do something on sustainability, not the overall concept. And the idea is to say, okay, we appreciate what you are doing. And we will offer you assistance to do the next step. Maybe they have an exchange with a school in Africa. Or they have some waste management. Or they have some project on healthy food. This could be starting point, that's the doorway concept. It could be the starting point, not to see it as an add-on, but see it as an appreciating what you are doing. And say, okay, maybe you do a little bit more. And we will give resources for it. That's the idea. Of course, school is a tanker. It will change it, but I'm not so afraid about it. I'm not skeptic. I think really there is a development. All over the world, I've started to work in Mongolia in November, and now come back half a year later. And these schools we choose as a pilot, they have really done a lot. And it was interesting to see what they have done. I never expected it. And they do, that is for me, it is just to encourage school to do it.
Reiner, for me the frustration is that we always look at end of pipe solutions. Yeah. So we really reach out to the school teacher and the learner and expect change there without changing the system. So these kind of problems these questions are going to come back to us again and again. But the other thing at the other end of the spectrum is, schools have not, or school systems or education systems have not evolved the way they have to evolve in various countries, like let us say India. You're still struggling with getting everyone to the school, retaining them in the school, making school a livelier place, and making education quite purposeful, other than just economic, to get a job after you get out of the school. So, you're still dealing with the lags, what is missing in the school. So that's the problem of countries like India and maybe many other countries in the world. And at the other end of the spectrum is schools where, probably if you do certain changes with the curriculum, with the school teacher training and with the examination system, you could actually get those gains.
Do you have feedback mechanisms to shape the curriculum that you just gave to the schools? Like, it's just like we have the law, and then you have to implement it as you think it will be the best way, and then these people work on it, and then the communication is broken. I perceive it like that. So maybe the teachers, while they are practicing these things, they need to give you feedback to tell you, like, maybe this doesn't work very well, and you should change this scheme of the curriculum. Does those mechanisms exist? Do they exist?
Also in Germany, I can say it exists. The school, if the school doesn't want to do it, they will not do it. The German situation is not, the government has really no control of what is happening at the specific classroom. And I'm very much a friend of it. If you look to Finland, Finland has no assessment, Finland has no testing, Finland has no evaluation system. And they are leading the education system of the world. And they're very proud of having no control. The element of education for sustainability should be trust the schools. Encourage them and then trust them that they will do the right things. That's the only way to really change it. I think so.
From my perspective, Rainer, we have heard the word slow many times today in the house. So which means actually things move very slowly, at a frustratingly slow level. That is certainly there. The other thing is, systems have inertia. For change to happen, you need to invest a lot. I mean, all of us who have studied that there is inertia within the system. The other thing is, education systems are top down. There's no bottom up. You don't really listen to a student. Did we ever, at least from the developing countries, and you don't go to a child and ask, so how was the school year for you? No, we know what to teach you. We know what to tell. Similarly, the teacher also has someone above. So we know what you should teach as a teacher. And the curriculum developer says, we know what you should do. So there's a top-down approach to the system, and there is inertia within the system. There's no feedback mechanism, and this, as you said, all this leads to a break in communication. So the curriculum developer doesn't know, doesn't communicate with the teacher. The teacher doesn't teacher has insufficient, content to communicate with the child. And this is how things are running. And I agree to your observation that there's no feedback mechanism that will make us learn and move faster quickly or faster.
Yeah, but Germany tries to avoid this gap by the curriculum in Germany is done by teachers. It's not done by university. This curriculum is done by the math part is done by math teacher. I have done the politics and chemistry part, but I'm a teacher. So that's one of the challenges for the system, but it is the idea to change it a little bit by engaging them into the curriculum development as such. There could be a solution.
Okay, thank you. So if there are any more questions, I would say we take it during the networking dinner. So yes.
I'd really like to congratulate on you completing 1 year of SRM talks and having us, on this occasion with you and giving us a chance to discuss, very highly contested topic of education for sustainable development. And all the best to you, and I hope you will keep up, learning from others and inviting various people and then, engaging in discussions like this. And I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much for those encouraging words, Mrs. Gorana. In fact, you will probably be happy to know that we also try to keep the connection moving with our former speakers, by virtue of which you will also continue receiving invitations to the forthcoming talks. So if
I'd
anyone's
like to participate virtually.
You're very, very welcome. So I think earlier in the discussion you mentioned how there are different tools to approaching environment protection and sustainable development, like technology, law, education, and so on. I think by the mere structure of the society, one of these tools that a person, an individual comes first in contact with is education. And therefore, I'm very happy that we touched upon this topic today and you shared what you have to share with the two of you. Thank you so much once again. As a token of our gratitude to you for your presence here today, our team would like to give you a little present which is also symbolic of this region. By Stefan.
I'm a German, I know this story.
So I'll take back this as a pride. A moment of pride for me to have been interacted with young people and also learned a little about the culture of the space.
Thank you so much. So, like Mrs. Gorana, I would also like to thank you all for having been part of this evening. And as is the custom, we now have our networking dinner. And the theme this evening is Mexican and Indian food. Once again, we have mostly all vegan and a few vegetarian dishes. And on the occasion of the first year anniversary, we also have 2 vegan cakes. So help yourself.